Social Music Talk. Welcome to Social Music Talk with Alex Cosper and my producer Sam Kadura.
Pleasure to be here.
And both of us come from a radio station in Sacramento, Quad in Sacramento, and Sam was there from about 84 to 87. I was there a little earlier, like a semester earlier from Sac State. And during the 80s, also, someone who went to Sac State who ended up at Quad, someone I worked with closely in the 90s with was our promotions director, Robert Endsley. We have on the line right now. Robert, how you doing?
Hey, good, Alex. How are you?
Wonderful. All right, Rob, we're going to talk about some memories of Quad from Sacramento, and we're going to talk about what you've done in radio since then, because that's interesting, too. You're currently a consultant for Mad River Radio in Northern California. Tell us about that at first.
Sure. Well, after Quad, he got sold, and that whole story, you can go to search Entercom versus Quad, or Quad versus Entercom, and hear everything you need to know about that. But just a quick run-through of my radio career. I worked for Talk Radio Network. For a short time after that, I was a consultant working for right-wing conservative talk shows like Michael Savage and Laura Ingraham and Mancow and the such. Actually, before that, I took a break from Quad because in my 12 years that I was at Quad, I did a calculation. And in 12 years, I had 3 weeks of vacation. 1 week was my honeymoon. So, after 12 years, I kind of needed a little bit of a break. So my kids were young at the time, and after that whole thing was done, because when Entercom bought us out, they didn't need another general manager, so
Yep.
I was out.
Wasn't that 2003?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, kind of a funny story, when, if you want to talk about that too, but that whole change. And
we could talk about that, yeah.
I had. My final words to the people at Entercom was, you'll be a different format in 2 years. Which I was wrong, actually. They were a different format in
6
months.
years. What do you mean? They changed in, 2009, didn't they?
They went from, they did the Quad. They kind of took over from Quad. That lasted about a year, and then they did their Quad version 2.0.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah, that failed.
And then
that was boring.
Shortly after that, they became, they were the Buzz, which I said that format would last probably 12 months.
That was like a 90s pop thing, right? 90s dance pop.
Yeah, 90s and now sort of thing.
Right.
But anyways, after that, I worked for CBS Radio for a short period of time.
Uh-huh.
And then I got this opportunity to work for Talk Radio Network, which I kind of liked. After 12 years of modern rock, maybe doing something on the talk show, talk format, the content, I like that.
Does that mean
for a while.
Does that mean you did a talk show?
No. I was there. I was a consultant for handling their sponsorship, and kind of their liaison.
Okay, because I know you've been on the air as well as doing sales and promotion.
Yeah, I found that the sales part was a little more lucrative.
Okay,
as I
exactly.
Got older, and then found my way into management, which I really, really liked, because then you got your finger into everything.
Yeah. Right.
And that's, I love radio. I love every aspect of it. Sales, promotion, on air, the marketing, and the business side. I like it all. So I did that for a while. Then I had an opportunity to go run a group of radio stations in Eureka, California, for a company called Bicoastal Media. And I worked there for a bit. And then a guy that worked at Quad, Boomer, called me up saying that there was a guy that was going to start a radio station in Eureka, California. And I said, let me tell you something. It's a standalone station. That market's too small to do a standalone station. You need to have the revenue of 3 to 4 different stations. I mean, it costs almost the same to run 3 radio stations as it is to run 1 station, unfortunately, especially in these days of automation.
Like,
don't kill me for that. It's just the nature of the business.
It's like
now.
power bill
But,
and staff and automation and
yeah,
all that.
I mean, you could have, I mean, I know the downsizing. It was great when you could have 4 radio stations and have 4 promotion directors, and have 4 sales managers, and have, whatever. I mean, that was a great time, but consolidation takes place. The whole business takes place, which could probably be another whole other show. When he was talking to this guy, Bill McCutcheon, who was starting this station, he said, listen, I don't know much about the business side of radio. I'm on air. He says, someone you should talk to is a guy who's already in the market, which was me. So I spoke with Bill McCutcheon and came to find out that he was starting the station, a brand new station, but he was also buying 2 stations in the market from this company, Redwood Broadcasting. Thus would be 3 stations. Mm-hmm. And he kind of, like in The Godfather, kind of gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. And came to that station, came to the group of stations, and one that was kind of challenging was the old company I worked for, Bi-Coastal Media, had a top 40 station in the market, and it was run a lot by Dow Global. In the mornings, we would run our own music, but other than that, they flipped to the Bird. And I've always been very competitive. I think you knew that when I was at Quad.
Very
and
much,
I always wanted to keep my edge. And one of the things I was scared about with the station that we had was the possibility of another station coming into the market or another station flipping and competing against us. And I told the president of the company at the time, I said, we really need to improve the product. And he told me that the station would be number 1, whether we're playing the format that we were at or Korean bagpipe music. He said, Rob, I suggest you stop worrying about the effing station and worry about the effing revenue. And I told him, Mike, I'm saying his name, I worry about everything. And if you don't focus on the product, there's not going to be revenue.
That's true. That's true.
One of the stations that we bought was a station called KJNY. And you might kind of like this story, but it was a top 40 kind of in the market. It was always the fledgling top 40. Uh-huh. The other top 40 that we had, this Power 96, was the predominant station in the market. And I kind of knew what it would take to have a good station and why this KJNY was failing. The station, the call letters were KJNY, which was Jenny. It was for his daughter, the guy who owned Redwood Broadcasting.
Okay.
His daughter was named Jenny.
I get it.
And they had tweaked the format so many times. And he finally, in a fit of desperation, he says, you know what, I want my station to appeal to 20-year-olds, 18 to 20-year-olds. My daughter's 20 years old. I'm just going to take her iPod, and that's going to be the format.
Oh, my God.
Well,
that's hilarious.
Jenny liked a lot of the top 40 hits. She liked that. But she also liked country.
Okay.
And she also liked hip-hop.
So you started mixing in some Garth Brooks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a mixed grab bag of
Oh, man. That's hilarious. Well, did it work, though?
Yeah. No, it didn't work. It was a disaster.
Oh, okay.
So I brought in some people that I knew, and I said, we just need to blow this station up. And, you and I talked about this. To have the market in Eureka, it's a small market, but it's a very interesting market, too, because it's up in the Redwoods, and it's a very crowded radio market. There's 17 commercial radio stations.
Wow.
And if you figure Fortuna, Ferndale, Eureka, Arcata, McKinleyville, about 117,000 people.
Wow.
With 17 commercial radio stations.
And does that cover like Humboldt County?
Yes, it's Humboldt County.
Okay. Yeah. So your whole
So I
do
brought
they
in
do your stations do they go beyond Eureka, or is it just
no.
okay? Okay.
It's very isolated. That whole market is very isolated. There's
Okay.
by miles upon miles upon miles of redwood trees.
Right, and mountains, like in the
Yeah.
yeah.
So they had a guy. I brought in my person, and I even sat down with Bill McCutcheon. We sat down on Starbucks on Broadway there, and I kind of mapped out what we were going to do with the stations. The new station that he was building was going to be a adult contemporary station mix. And then we were actually going to use the translator from, and I won't get too boring on this, Tim. We were going to use the station we built was an HD station.
Okay.
So we flipped. KGNY was at 106.7 and 106.7. It was on two different, and a lot of the radio stations in that market have to have dual frequencies,
right?
Because there's so much mountain terrain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get hit and miss.
Right. You need repeaters.
So we use a repeater. So we found that the 99.1 was strong enough on its own, and the 106.7 could really have its own signal. And so what we did was we switched because KMDR, which is the adult contemporary station, was going to be an HD station. So what we did was we went to the FCC and we switched over the 106.7 signal from KJNY to KMDR. So it's basically KMDR HD2. And we had that signal on the HD2 channel of 99.1 was able to broadcast on 106.7. And that's where we created a rock station, kind of a hybrid station of rock and new rock. So it was a lot of, playing a lot of Korn and Deftones, but we also played Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and AC/DC and what have you.
Any rocker will get that.
Yes. And again, to make a long story short, I kind of penciled out what we were going to do. We were going to attack this KFMI. We thought that changing it to a KISS FM, be a total top 40 station, that'll get us the younger demo, and then KMDR would get us the older demo, and we could kind of take the low end of because what Tower, the station we were competing against, they were on Dial Global. They were using their Hot AC format, but in the mornings, they would play their own music on the mornings, and it was strictly CHR.
Okay.
So they would tell people, if an advertising agency says, hey, we want to buy the CHR station, oh, we're that. If another one comes in and says, we want to buy the Hot AC, oh, we're that.
So you're in between?
They were trying to play both ends.
Okay.
So funny thing happened is we flipped it, and within the first book, we thought that we would have the two stations to compete against this competitor. What ended up happening was the station blew up. It crushed the competition. Our cume was a third of the market. Yeah, so we're talking 38,000 cume of a market of 117,000 people.
That's pretty good.
And the station has remained that solid to this day.
Social music.